All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Jake Anthony, and welcome to AutismBC Highlights. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that I'm joining you from the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples of the Musqueam, the Squamish, and the Tsleil-Waututh, and I'd like to lift my hands in respect and to give thanks for being able to live, work, and play on their land. And today I'm really very happy to be welcoming Ruth and Melissa from the Gateway Theatre Academy, and we're going to talk today about their sensory-friendly acting classes. So Ruth and Melissa, it's great to have you.
Thanks, Jake, so much for having us. Yeah, it's so great to be in this arena again with you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, welcome. It's fantastic to have you back. Yeah. Yeah. So it would be great if you could both start by kind of just telling everybody who's watching, a bit about your backgrounds and kind of just a reason why you're excited to be offering these sensory-friendly acting classes through the Gateway.
Absolutely. I think I'll start, Melissa, and then pass it on to you.
Okay.
But I just realized first also, let me say that the Gateway Theatre is situated on the ancestral territories of the Khankaminam speaking peoples. So there's a lot of folks who traditionally and ancestrally used those lands and accessed the mouth of the Fraser River. And here we are, Gateway Theatre, we get to be on that land as well and share it. So grateful for that. Yeah. Thanks. I had meant to say that earlier. I'm super excited. We've been trying to offer these classes for sort of a number of different iterations, and so we're just continuing. Yeah, I understand that there's folks who are really interested and really hungry for this kind of opportunity, and so we're just itching to meet you all and be able to have these classes for you. I'll share my background. I've been with Gateway Theatre for about 11 seasons. And before that, I worked as a professional artist for a couple of decades, and then I taught. And Jake, that's how we met, is when I was teaching. And so I taught for about a decade, and then I moved into this administration position as the education manager at Gateway Theatre. And I've been fortunate enough to run all sorts of education programs there, including our Gateway Academy, which is our largest education program. And so amongst those are these sensory-friendly acting classes that we're super stoked to be running again and have Melissa be teaching them. And we can share more about what those classes are like, but I'll use that as an introduction for now.
Hi. So I started, dancing and singing when I was little. And then when I was in high school, I first kind of got into theater and I loved it. And it was something I did all through high school. And then I did a little bit of when I was in university. I actually did art history in university because I just really like art in general. But I started teaching and I found that introducing art and theater and like creative movement to kids was so valuable because everyone responds to it and it helps people gain confidence and learn how to present themselves and their voice to people. So I've been teaching for the last 10-ish years, and it's something that I find so exciting. So I'm very excited to start teaching these classes. It's my first year at Gateway. So I'm looking forward to meeting people.
Yeah. And I'm super excited to have you on board, Melissa. It's we've just had a couple of meetings together and a couple of conversations, and it's just so great to hear how you talk about the way that you meet your students in the space, whether it be in person or online, how you meet and integrate with your students and integrate what you offer. And I really appreciate how much, Melissa, you listen to your students and help them feed you and help them and sort of empower them to help you determine the direction of the class. So together, almost, you're determining what the class is going to look like. I just think that's a really wonderful, empowering experience for them.
Yeah, everyone comes from a different place when they come into class, whether they're children or adults or whether they're neurotypical or not. Everyone comes with something. And it's just really good to see where everyone's at, because some people come in and they've got really bad anxiety, but theater helps them figure out who they are and how they want to approach things. And like, just, it's great for like figuring out how to have conversations and how to tell people where you're at and what you need too. And it's just creating a safe space for everyone. And I love offering that to people.
That's absolutely fantastic. And, being somebody who, I worked in acting for about 15 years as an actor and trained for about 18. And, what really is a person on the spectrum, so much of what you talk about in terms of how to connect with people and how to learn about human emotion and about, reciprocal communication and, so many different, it opens so many kind of doors for me, kind of, because I remember that prior to, starting acting, I even had trouble, being able to look people in the eye when I spoke to them. Because I didn't have the social connectivity that acting really demands, but it really teaches. And so I know, working with Ruth and working with so many people, instructors and people over the years, really it didn't just kind of help me to grow as an artist, but it really helped me to grow as a person, to be able to really have genuine connections with people and to understand human emotion and to be able to read body language. And, so I'm so excited that, that you're both offering this program, because I think, there's so many people on the spectrum. I know who, email AutismBC and saying, how can I become more connected with the community? How can I become more involved and, kind of figure out how to, socially, and especially adults who get diagnosed, later on in life. I mean, I had the advantage of being diagnosed when I was a child. So I was able to, during those formative years, I was able to kind of have the time to be able to grow into myself, to the person that I am now. Whereas for adults, they're just starting their journey with autism, so it's great that you're offering these, for kids. And I hope that more academies and more programs are offered, both for children and adults, and that this is kind of the start of something really great. So fantastic.
I'll share, it was initiated, like where we what sort of sparked the ideas that there's a fellow named Matthew Dick, who I had a conversation with a number of years ago, and he's a Musqueam man, and said, one of my sons is autistic, and he said there is hardly any programs for him to take, certainly in the arts, and so that's what sparked me to go, okay, maybe this is something that we can do, and started investigating and offering that. And I'll say here, I am so eager to hear from folks. Like, I want to make sure that we're offering what people want. So even as folks here are listening, I just encourage you, please, to make contact with me and just go, yes, this is something we're interested, not quite in the way that you're offering it. Here are some things that would really serve our needs. And so the more information I can gather from families and individuals, both individuals who are adults and then families and youth, the more I hear about where and what the need is, the better that we are able to generate something that works for folks. So I encourage people to contact me, and I'll share contact information a little bit later. So I want to make sure we're meeting you.
Great. So, besides the kind of the ongoing pandemic, I'm wondering, why is it more beneficial to have these classes virtually instead of in person for a lot of the people that, these classes are aimed for, who are neurodivergent?
Melissa, I would love to answer from my perspective, but I know that you have experience teaching neurodivergent folks in both sort of spaces, but I'll address why we've chosen to do this, and that is, it was with the understanding that there were a number of folks who an in-person experience, it would just be too stimulating. When I saw the spaces at the Pacific Autism Family Network, it became so apparent to me how our space at Gateway Theatre is not calming. there's just a lot going on. And so my concern was not actually providing the kind of environment that somebody who's neurodivergent would need, somebody who has sensory sensitivities would need. And so this idea of a space online has the potential to provide students with their own, environment, their own, and a better sense of control over their own environment, or a better sense of being able to anticipate what might take place in their environment, so that we can have the creative space here, but this back here is all taken care of. Yeah. So that's certainly the design and the choice. We made this choice quite separately from the pandemic to do it this way. That said, I'll say again, maybe it's not what people want. Maybe people would rather be in person. So I'd really love to hear from folks and hear what they're interested in. But Natasha, you've taught in both in person and then in this kind of platform, which I really appreciate both the perspectives that you've experienced.
Yeah, for some people, online is where they are most comfortable, because going into class, I mean, there's so many variables just besides the space itself. Coming into a room full of people, especially at the beginning when it's people you don't know, it's just so much that you have to handle at one time. I mean, for anyone, that can be stressful. But on the other side of that, sometimes just the community that you can build in class, it's different than what you can build through screens as well. So you can build it in both areas, but I find that the connection is different when it's in class, and people get more support in, like, when there's when you're in a physical space together, you can support each other more. And I like developing that as well. And it's a little bit more of a struggle when you're doing it through screens. But I also like giving people the option, because I realize that not every day is a day that you can manage that. So I usually, like in the past, I have allowed both. So if it's a day that you're not feeling like you can manage being in class, I also usually teach with my laptop set up like this, so that they can join us. They can still join us and participate in class, even if they're not feeling up to being in class physically. And
that's quite separate from pandemic times that you were doing that. Yeah,
definitely. Because I mean, even me, sometimes if I have like a really bad headache and I'm just not feeling like the drive is happening, sometimes doing it online is a great option, which is not something that we used to consider at all either. But it is giving us more room to play for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I know that I remember last time we were talking about this, Ruth, we were talking about, I think, with the that you can have people's pets in the back, when they're home, kind of become, part of the, part of the scenes or part of the class or whatever, and that there's all these other kind of possibilities, right, that kind of that present themselves, right, by doing it virtually and by doing it from your home. You can introduce.
Dad comes home from work halfway through, and the little brother comes with the toys.
Yeah, so I mean, it's I guess there's a lot of things that you can't really get in necessarily in the studio, right? If you are in the classroom space. So I unique way of doing it, and I think, I mean, I can remember from my experience, so definitely the sensory overload sometimes of being in a classroom with other kids who didn't get that. Okay, sometimes if it's too loud, that I need to remove myself from the situation, that it would have been nice to have had maybe the option, even if it maybe wasn't. I don't know if Zoom was around back when Ruth and I
don't know if anyone
did I have email back then?
I don't know we might have not. I don't know. So I don't know if it was an option back when I was first starting out, but yeah, no, it would have been nice to have had the option on days where I wasn't feeling up to, being in a room full of other really loud kids and personalities to do that. So that's great. Yeah.
Can I ask you, Jake, a question
sure.
about that? So can you share so on those days, what would you do to help to manage that? Do you recall?
Yeah, a lot of it was masking, and what that is, for those who aren't familiar with it, is, I mean, it's really when people with autism, when we feel that we have to act a certain way, and this is, I guess, where acting kind of helped me as a person on the spectrum, and to a certain extent, I mean, masking can be helpful, but it can also be harmful in terms of that you're basically covering up your autistic traits and your some of what you're feeling in the moment in order to fit in with other neurotypical people. So there might be times where I would be screaming inside, but I would outwardly look very calm. Right. And so it's kind of, and that can be, like I said, that can be a benefit in terms of not dealing with some people that maybe won't be as understanding and won't be as sensitive. But at the same time, I mean, you're basically denying a part of yourself in some cases. So I mean, there would be times where, I might try deep breathing, or where I might try removing myself from, the area that I was finding it to be overwhelming, or then there were times where I would just simply kind of mask and kind of cover up my what I was kind of feeling in the moment, because I knew that, okay, if I have a meltdown, or if I, then it's, there's some people who might not, like yourself, who you would understand, and you would do everything that you could to support me, but there's not necessarily that all the other children in the room would have, right? So I mean, it's kind of from an early age, a lot of people, if they're lucky enough to be diagnosed early, they kind of, you learn masking pretty early on to just deal with not only to deal with emotions, but to kind of deal with other people's reactions to your
Right. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. It is, I really appreciate the conflict then that puts a student in, because these are classes that are intended to generate self-expression and dissolve the censors that we might have in order to access that freedom of expression. And so isn't that interesting, that opposite message of masking or some way of hiding one's natural responses?
Yeah, I know, and it is kind of contradictory to what acting is about, right? Which is the, like you said, expression of those emotions. But I mean, but it's the fear of the uncontrolled, right? And the fear of not being able to rein that in and harness it is kind of the so that's I mean, and I'm hoping that these kinds of classes will help with so that students don't feel they have to mask, that they can just be themselves and be, and if they need to turn their screen off or their sound off, I mean, then they can do that until they feel that they can rejoin.
I think there's something to be said too about developing the muscle or honing the muscle to make choice of following. Am I going to follow the impulse of my natural expression, or am I going to follow the impulse of there was a word you just used, Jake. It was a different word than controlling, but anyway, for me it flagged just having choice, right? Making choice in which impulse do I use this as a moment to maybe it's like focusing my emotions
to harness it.
And that's the word. Thank you. Yeah. And harness it in order to attend this goal, whether it's as whatever the exercise that Melissa might give me. Yeah. Or do I allow myself that choice of following my other impulse of truly expressing my emotion? Yeah. So it gives us that muscle to make that choice, the practice that muscle of making that choice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Melissa, I don't know, because I mean you've also taught with a number of neurodivergent students. Have you found that have you ever and it's something that I don't know how many neurotypical people notice it, with masking, but have you ever noticed, when you've had a neurodivergent student who seems to be kind of holding back in terms of their just emotional reactions?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's interesting because well, like when I first started teaching, it was not something that people took into consideration as much. It's just something that people started taking notice of and teachers started taking notice of. So it's very interesting. It's so difficult because every day is a different day. And everyone comes in at a different spot every class. So that's why I always really like I start class by asking how everyone's doing today. And trying to create that safe place. And I like explaining, like everyone explains where they're at. So we know where we are today. And if you need to walk away or you need to take a walk or you need to just whatever you have to do, that is okay because it's a safe space. And I just really like that everyone in there knows that that's okay for them, whether they are neurotypical or neurodivergent, because everyone needs that. And especially in a class environment, because there is so many things that can set you off just through the course of your day or even the course of your class. So I've definitely noticed that some days you can just tell on kids' faces that it's not going to be a good day today, or that they need less of things that day. Which is why when I make class plans, they're fairly flexible. Because some days I just know that the things that I have planned are not the things that are going to happen today. So we need to quickly readjust, which is what's great about theater, because there's lots of different options.
Yeah.
Endless possibilities, right? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, no, and I know I taught for a time. I taught in Burnaby. It was for adults with who were neurodivergent, but I taught a class for adults who were neurodivergent, and even myself as a person on the spectrum who's very regimented in the way that I like things to be a certain way and for things to be scheduled and kind of done in in the way that I expect them to be done. And even I learned how to be more flexible by teaching neurodivergent adults theater, because there would be times where, like you said, where people would come in and they would just not be in a good place that day, and so I would kind of have to pivot and do something different with the workshops that I would be, or with the games and the exercises that I was doing that day, because I could just tell that that there might be some people who may not be open to really delving into what I had planned, right? So it's that flexibility and that creativity, right? Yeah.
And just trying to force people to do things that they physically cannot do that day is just so discouraging for them and frustrating for you. So it's just better to take it as it is and make that decision quicker, instead of trying to force it, because it just upsets everyone.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Yeah. Yeah. So how can people, get enrolled in the classes, and when do they start and how long do they run for?
Yeah, so we have 2 sessions. There's a fall session that starts in September. The first date is September 20th and it runs till December 13th. And that's a set of 12 classes. And then there's another set for our winter session from January 10th to April 25th. And again, that's 12 classes in that time. And as we've been talking about, all of these are on Zoom. And we're offering classes to 2 different age groups, youth age groups. There's one that runs from 5 to 6 o'clock on Mondays for ages 9 to 12. The other is from 6:15 to 7:45 on Mondays for ages 13 to 16. And so those are available through our website, which is www.gatewaytheatre.com, GATEWAYTHEATRE, gatewaytheatre.com. And then under the Academy and Winter, fall and winter classes. And then there's all that information there. And we're really looking to empower neurodivergent youth who are not limited to youths with autism, Asperger's syndrome, attention deficit disorder, other processing and developmental divergence. We're not looking to, we're really looking to be welcoming and inclusive and have all folks who identify to come and join us. And sorry, I'll clarify too, we say ages 9 to 12 and 13 to 16, but it's actually for folks who identify in those age groups, I'll be clear. Yeah, so it doesn't mean that you have to be within those age groups, but it's that you feel like you work well with one of those age groups. So you can be older or younger, and how you feel comfortable. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's perfect. And
Did I answer it?
No, and that's and I think that I'm really glad that it's being offered, for two different age groups, because I think that, especially, when people are at different levels of kind of self-discovery and different levels of just kind of not only as in terms of this theater for them, but is just kind of where they are, whether they've been diagnosed, whether they're undiagnosed, whether, so I mean, yeah, having that option of two different groups and kind of being able to choose if, what group you fit in better with, I think is nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And certainly there's the possibility that to switch. So if I start in the ages 9 to 12, that in the fall, then the winter, I could easily switch to the other one for 13 to 16.
If it's a better fit. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Or if you even feel like, now I need to, I'm ready for the next one.
That's fantastic. Yeah, no, and I'm really glad to hear that, and I hope, fingers crossed, you get a ton of people that come out and, because I think this is really, like I said, it's something really new. It's something that just is, I haven't really seen anything quite like this out there. So I'm so happy that, that we could do our bit here at AutismBC to, hopefully, help to get as many people interested and get this out there. And but I'm wondering, do you have any kind of like just final messages, kind of any final thoughts for that you want to put out there for people who might be watching this, who might be interested in taking part?
I'll first share that Gateway Theatre and the Academy program specifically are sponsored by McCandless Family Foundation, the Winford Strata Management, and the Loan Foundation. So thanks to them for helping us do what we do. And just share, I would love to hear from folks, and even if it's like you're not ready to register now, please come and have a conversation with me over the phone or via email, or we can arrange to meet. I would love to hear what's on people's minds and what they're looking for, what their needs are.
Fantastic. And Melissa, any kind of just any messages because you want to put out there in terms of just for people who neurodivergent students who might be interested in in taking this program?
I just am really excited to meet people, and I really want to offer you a space where you are comfortable and you can just have some fun, because that's what we're here for. Yeah. And I really, if you haven't done theater before, this is a great introduction to theater as well. Because maybe it's something that you haven't had a chance to do, or that the environment wasn't what you needed. This is that time. So yeah, give it a try, because theater is amazing. It opens up so many doors.
It does.
Jake, I'm so grateful to you and to AutismBC for creating this space with us to be able to talk about these classes, our sensory friendly acting classes. It's so generous of you and AutismBC, you and Brock, and to just be spreading the word. So thanks for creating this opportunity with us.
Thank you so much. And, it's our pleasure to, whenever there's, a program out there that really, is making the community more inclusive and really more accessible for people of all diverse abilities. I think it's, definitely something that's really worth promoting. So I'm really glad to, more than happy to do this. And I know Brock and all of us at AutismBC are rooting for you in terms of the program going forward. So, yeah.
Yay.
Thank you so much. It's been, it's always a pleasure to talk with you. And yeah, Melissa, it's been fantastic to be able to meet you as well. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you so much for this. It's really nice meeting you.
Mhm.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on. I'm just going to